Good morning. It is 9:30 UTC, going through the markets, focusing on Bitcoin. So, general stuff coming in today. We got Federal Chair Powell speaking in the evening. So, what is that? 17:55 in the evening tonight. Expect some potential volatility depending on what he says. It's usually the Powell effect. Other than that, nothing really crazy as far as major news and economic data coming out until Thursday, Friday. Today is also the end of Q3. Remember that. Expect some potential volatility just because we are going from Q3 to Q4. And yeah, watch that monthly close. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be an important level on whatever chart you're looking at. So going into Bitcoin a bit, one thing we are seeing, because we had a bit of a flush out early Monday, which was kind of expected given the power of the upside move that wasn't retracing. We're seeing a bit of a switch now where quite a bit of longs are stepping in, especially in the last couple of hours. So that's not good if you want upside continuation. Obviously, people trying to step in, they're switching back to long. You know, the little euphoria phase that we had last week and going into the weekend, everyone's very bullish again all of a sudden. And now all of a sudden, price is going down and people are trying to long it to catch the higher low. It feels more like retracement than it has previously, but just keep an eye on this. We want this to switch really quickly. So if we do start regaining some levels, we want to see people smashing the red button. Retail traders have to be wrong the majority of the time. Looking over the liquidations, big stuff here. We've been taking out the lows that we put in on the 26th. And we've now flushed out some really high leverage stuff down to about 36.7. So beyond that, the big stuff really that's still in place is actually sub 62.5. There's quite a bit of high leverage stuff there on a higher time frame. And if we go a bit higher regarding the kind of time frame we're looking at, yeah, like I said, it's pretty significant. I think it's going to act like a magnet to pull price towards it. Now, getting clear of this is no big issue. We want to see some reversals if we do happen to come back to 60K. I would prefer we clear this out really fast at 61.5 and then do some sharp regains and get people trading out of position. But the downside is looking attractive based off of liquidity. So looking over at the funding rates as well, very positive. So this is obviously influencing traders to take short positions, market makers, liquidity providers. Across the board, positive, positive funding rates and incentivizing shorts, negative funding rates incentivizing longs. So it looks like we are retracing going into the open of the new month. Looking also something to be aware of, there is tomorrow a planned potential walkout with, I think, 25, basically shutting down the entire East Coast of shipping. So it's not an insignificant thing. There's the effect this could have on like the US and then eventually global supply chains is massive. So expect some really crazy stuff going on with this. It is still expected to happen. We're not for sure. There's no like Biden's asleep at the wheel. There's no planned intervention or anything like that. But in general, watch this. This is definitely a potential major economic event. Just watch the actual shutdown. So yeah, first shutdown on the ports in like 50 years. So it's going to be pretty significant potentially. This is about 60% of the US shipping traffic. Expect some craziness to happen in the markets if this occurs. Yeah, port trade is 2.1 trillion and 72% would grind to a halt. Yeah, that's wild. So just keep an eye on that. As an event for tomorrow, also the Q4 open. Going into some more data driven stuff for Bitcoin, we do have a lot of sell pressure that was building in the last 4-hour candle to force price lower. Several thousand Bitcoins pushing price down. Not a whole lot of natural support until we start getting down to, I would argue, 60K. Some of this stuff here at 62K looks a little bit fake. I would expect that we actually come into this and really grab that liquidity. Open interest is also building here, so watch out as well. There's a pretty decent chance for a bigger flush out, and the longs are starting to get punished in this downside. People get a bit too euphoric. Again, the reversal is really simple. Get back above 65.5. If we get back above 65.5, we are looking for upside continuation. The general upside trend is not broken until we do something really significant, sub 60K. There's some upside trend failing here at 63 that becomes very painful, especially 62.7, because that is, I believe, the Q3 open. So if we do break back below this stuff, we'll see a bad quarter, but watch, again, that kind of shenanigans as we actually close the quarter out. Looking over at the footprint here, Yeah, lots of order book imbalances taking us back to 60.8K. There's a bit of a gap underneath that. I would expect we get a little bit of a slowing period here. I think locally it wouldn't be too crazy to expect some potential local reversal back up. But again, not going to try to trade counter the local trend, which is locally down. I would expect that if we do have continuations and loss of like 63K, 62.5, we would want to try to fill this high leverage liquidity area. So speaking of liquidity, we'll kind of go dive a bit more into that. Looking at the liquidations themselves, there is a high pocket of high leverage short liquidity above us at 66.2. Obviously, the weekend short liquidity wasn't liquidity grabbed. That's always a telltale sign. It happened last weekend for a downside move. There's some high leverage stuff at 61.8 to 62.5. So if we do come back down into this and clear it, we should be seeing a little bit of a bounce up before there's a potential continuation down. The stuff we're really looking at is 61.8 to 62.5. Like this stuff right here is really, really attractive. Actually, I got that wrong. That is not 60. Let's see, 63.2K to 63.6K. That makes more sense. So yeah, watch for that to be taken out if there's some potential reversals. I think, like I said earlier, this is going to act like a magnet, right, to pull price towards it. So that's the local continuation. If there's a bounce back, remember, we're kind of looking for that to get filled. The higher leverage, like the general area long liquidity still exists. I would expect that if we do clear this high leverage stuff and then don't have an immediate reversal, we're looking at trend change. And we want to see some downside, grab these kind of higher pockets of higher leverage liquidity that are going untested in this large area of long liquidity in general. Looking over at the general TA for this area, the expectations. So yeah, so strong weekly close, but the money sell-off is, we are looking at some downside. We want to see some regains here really locally at the August opens, 64.6K. Until we regain that, we've got local downside priority. We've now failed basically the gain of the range that we saw on Thursday. So that's invalidated. We've now flipped what was support, right? It was previously resistance. We flipped it to support, and now it's resistance again. So keep an eye on that. That is the local key level to regain to retest the weekly open. And the gain of the weekly open at 65.5 is the regain that has a continuation effect. Until that happens, I'm kind of expecting the downside. The loss of the Q3 would allow us to target that higher leverage liquidity, which we saw previously, which is here. And if we get that in one big flush, that's great. I want to see some strong regains. And then, basically this regain here that then regains the support underneath the Q3. So yeah, overall, a little bit of a dump Monday, kind of not unexpected in all reality, but in general, yeah, that's the local priority. If we do start failing this Q3, remember that we are breaking trend. It doesn't mean that the trend is